what is going on with Sheamus? Uh, Welcome to WrestleWolf. I'm Damien Gibson. What we do here is that we go through wrestling Twitter so you don't have to. I've got my fancy new microphone here. I've got my fancy new lights, ready to do some long form content. It is coming. I'll talk to you about that at the end of the video. But first and foremost, I just wanted to have a quick look at what is going on with Sheamus. Someone I haven't really thought about for a long time. I mean, anyone who's been following the channel, the podcast, I haven't watched WWE for about 6 years. And Sheamus was someone that I kind of always wasn't a huge fan of when I was watching wrestling. But of course, when these things happen, and the thing that I'm talking about is that Sheamus is leaving WWE. Supposedly had a contract to 2029, but could not come to terms with TKO about money. Sound familiar? This seems to be a recurring theme. Malachi Black was my first video, and that was spoken about there. The New Day was my second video, that was spoken about there. And then the CM Punk video, which a lot of people were like, oh, he's going to stay. That wasn't really the point of the video. The point of the video was what would have to happen for CM Punk to come back to AEW, and what are the, what is happening with Punk in WWE. And I think that the things that I brought up lead into what happened this week with him winning the World Championship in WWE. He was unhappy about creative, wasn't around for a couple of months. There was some things linked to Punk-friendly media. And lo and behold, 2 weeks later, he shows up in WWE winning the belt. Now, that might have always been the plan, but it all seems a little convenient. So now we come to Sheamus. Now, quickly, before we get to Twitter, if you can like and subscribe, the channel's starting to do quite well for itself. Small, we are a very small operation, but it's getting bigger every time I upload. So if you can like and subscribe, that'll really help us out. Now, let's have a quick look here and just see what is going on now. I wanted to talk about this, not so much about like, oh, Sheamus is leaving WWE, and the usual thing that I feel like I've talked about on every video is that this person should come to AEW, because I don't know 100% whether Sheamus should come to AEW. I'll talk about that in a second. I just, before we get into the nuts and bolts of that, this Wrestling Observer tweet, and it's just one tweet, and I, as someone who has a comms degree and has worked in these jobs, I understand you got to get content out, you got to get people looking at stuff. But for the love of God, Wrestling Observers put this tweet out there. Booker T discussed Sheamus leaving WWE, saying that the company should not be viewed as the bad guy when long tenured talent move on. Now, I don't necessarily disagree with this, but the thing that frustrates me about this is what that headline should say is WWE employee sticks up for WWE. I mean, for fuck's sake, like, I understand he's on a podcast and he's just talking. It's not even really necessarily Booker T's fault. I just, and I know that like this is kind of making a story happen, like, oh, Booker T says that WWE aren't the bad guy, but a lot of people feel like they are. So let's just stoke that fire a little bit. This isn't anything. This is not anything. And also, like, out of all the people who work for WWE who are going to say something stupid or off the cuff or to get under people's skin, it's going to be Booker T. I mean, like, the only person who says more irrelevant stuff on wrestling Twitter is Bubba Ray, Bully Ray. You know, like, you might as well be asking him or Eric Bischoff about Sheamus. Like, they're just quote machines. Like, that's all these people do. But also, he is a employee of WWE, so of course he's going to say WWE aren't the bad guy here. Now, from what I have seen, and this is all reportedly, is that Sheamus, there was all this stuff that had been put out online about Sheamus was happy to take a pay cut because he was getting towards the back end of his career. And then he left. So he still had, as far as I know, still had 2.5 years left on his contract. So I think this is another tenured age. Like, I saw Dave Meltzer talking about this the other day, where he was essentially saying that TKO see themselves as um, like a top flight football team, and they'll pay a lot of money for their top stars. But if you're, a veteran and getting over the hill, then they'll probably cut you because they don't see the financial reasoning for keeping you around. So yeah, I just wanted to get that. I just saw this and was like, man, I'm actually making some of the long form videos now, and I kept thinking like, I should just put a short video up about something on Twitter, and I just went on Twitter. I saw this, I was like, what is this? Like, Booker T sticking up for WWE annoys me, but also Wrestling Observer sort of, putting this out on Twitter of like it's a story, and then there's a full article about it. Like, I understand I'm now talking about Wrestling Observer, talking about Booker T, talking about Sheamus. I mean, this is kind of the infrastructure that we have when it comes to wrestling, and I suppose all of it kind of gets more eyes and more people talking about it. So in one way, it's good, but I just, if something was happening here, like if Booker T had said WWE is the bad guy, then that would be a story. But WWE employee sticks up for WWE is not a story unless you are trying to get WWE's point of view across. I just feel like that happens so much in wrestling media. It's really frustrating. Like, what has happened. Sheamus has left the company 2.5 years earlier than he should have. There's a lot of talk about they wanted him to take a pay cut and he wasn't willing to do that. And so if that is the case, in a lot of people's viewpoint, that would make WWE the bad guy, or TKO the bad guy. Whoever's making the decision. So to come out and defend, the bigger person, like, if this was just regular people, who were getting laid off, this would be the equivalent of taking the side of the company that's doing the layoffs. Like, it's pretty poor form all round. Should Sheamus come to AEW? Well, my attitude to that is I kind of want everybody to come to AEW. And there have been people who have come who, like, I didn't want Andrade to come the second time, and his run has been superb. I'm trying to think of other people who've come along. Even Jericho re-signing. As much as I was happy for Jericho to re-sign, I was kind of a little bit like, what is this going to be like? And him and Ciampa's storyline has been fantastic. Cesaro was someone that I wasn't a huge fan of, and he has been. I mean, talking about someone who has come across the company and just done, like, it's been an exemplary team player, like going down to CMLL, being a world champion there, being, basically Mox's bodyguard in the Death Riders. Like, he could have come to AEW and had a much more sort of domineering attitude towards where he should be in the company, but hasn't. So if Sheamus, I think really when it comes to anybody coming to AEW, if you're a fan of the organization, you just want them to be to have the right attitude, in the sense of they want to be there, they want to do the work, and they want to improve AEW as a company. And I feel like Sheamus could be that kind of person. The other thing that the first thing that came into my head, and I don't know anything about contracts or anything like that. What I do know is that Sheamus and Drew McIntyre are very good friends. And so if there was ever a chance of AEW getting Drew McIntyre, having his best friend on the roster is not a bad selling point. And you can come at me in the comments and say that's never gonna happen and blah 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 blah. But AEW signed Christian Cage. A couple of years later, Adam Copeland showed up. So there is precedent for it. You know what I mean? It can happen. I am praying that the sound on this video is as superb as the price tag for this microphone says it should be. If it is and you're enjoying it, like I say, like and subscribe. That really helps the channel. Thank you for watching. As I was saying, I am working on long form videos. What I want to do is go back and start watching Dynamite from the beginning. And I'm going to be going through and doing a reaction and review video of full episodes of Dynamite with essentially a slideshow, screenshots and things that happened, and talking about it from a writing standpoint because that's what I'm trained in, but also from a wrestling fan point, and it's kind of exciting to go back and watch that stuff. I've been watching old WCW pay-per-views from the 80s recently, and I'd love to do that kind of stuff down the road as well. So, but if you like these videos, you're probably an AEW fan, so thank you for coming along and having a look. If you do know any other AEW fans or looking for some pro AEW content, send them my way. I'd really appreciate it. But until next time, may your wrestling be good wrestling. Good night.